Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Kelly Writers House. It's so good to see everyone on this cold, rainy night. If you're new to the Writers House, please take a moment to sign the guest book outside the Arts Cafe. And if you're not new, welcome back. I'm extremely excited to be introducing Rosmarie Waldrop as our poet this evening. And also just to let you know, following the reading, we will be having a reception in the dining room. Rosmarie Waldrop's extraordinary body of writing, which includes more than 20 books of her own writing, including poetry, fiction, and essays, and numerous books of translations, including over a dozen volumes of work by Edmond Yabez, has been said to explore and explode the governing dichotomies of Western thought, subject and object, mind and body, reason and emotion. And I just have to say that Rosmarie's work is, I think she was the first poet who introduced me to this idea of what it means to write about poetry as materiality, because it was the first book review I ever wrote in my life, in my career as a poet critic, was about love-like pronouns. And I thought a lot about what it means to write about a work and the way you sort of take it into your own body when you're writing about it. So I thank you for that book. Steve Evans has written this about Rosmarie's work. The biographical experience of linguistic dislocation not only informs Waldrop's theoretical and practical orientation toward language, it also represents a historical link to preceding generations of avant-garde writers, principally the Surrealists and, even more centrally, the Dadaists. Like these earlier writers, Waldrop engages in a literary practice predicated on a commitment to the materiality and almost plastic manipulatability of language. Her own work in concrete and visual poetry in the late 1960s and early 1970s, her frequent use of collage techniques and procedural devices throughout the 80s and 90s, not to mention her many years of hand-setting type for Burning Deck books and chapbooks, all testify to an ongoing exploration in the fundamentally strange and surprising precincts of the material world. Please help me welcome Rosmarie Waldrop back to the Kelly Writers House.
Thank you very much, Julia. And thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure to be back here. I would like to read, how is the sound? Is it okay? Okay. All right. I would like to read three different sequences. Actually, the first one is a long one and I only read part of it. The first one is from the book, from my most recent book, which is called Driven to Abstraction. And I was going to bring the book and show it to you, but in the flurry of my train being 2 hours late, and I just barely got here, so I forgot to bring it. However, I brought a typescript anyway, because my eyes are getting so bad that I can't read the type in the book. The first sequence is really in memoriam for John Cage, and the title is of course a quote from him called "Music is an oversimplification of the situation we are in." There is part of this poem sequence that I won't read, and that is at the bottom of each page. There's actually the palette of this work. All the words that I've taken from Cage's Silence are arranged alphabetically, always in 2 lines at the bottom, but that does not make for good reading, so I skipped that. The sequence was started during the Iraq War, was, as Michael Palmer always says, written in a matrix of war, and this keeps being relevant, you know. So, music is an oversimplification of the situation we are in. The silence of this great noise, sounds take place. The noise of this truck, wherever we are, my mother's fury in my heart, this truck at 50 miles an hour, a voice out of hell, or an open door, quartet for explosive motor, wind, heartbeat, and landslide, hair standing on end to harmony. Bury yourself in sound. It warms the body, forfeits the horizon. Wide-eared. Notate it or not, sounds eat space, a means of rapid transportation. Not written down, they appear as silence. Is the ear behind glass, like the eye? Suppose I found grains of sound in my pocket. Should I brush off chromatic proximity? Constant connection to the past by the principle of form. One person's harmony is another's brick wall to beat his head against. The past everywhere is preying on nervous systems, methods of fingering. What a night, I said, what a night. The piano hammers its felt into stellar space, a synonym for submersion. We don't need to destroy the past. It's past. Shaken, echoes on track. Depending on whether you're born deaf, a sonata may be a conceptual escape, absence of gesture, or a horse galloping along horizontal evolutions. To spread, to resemble nature, to rush out of sight. Lit up overtones, spontaneous anxiety. We dream forms of fire, scorched fingers on the keys. The identification of poisonous mushrooms. In a matrix of war, color drains from the inquest. The habit of scales, counterpoint, harmony concerns discrete steps. The high-pitched nervous system on stepping stones 12. Overtone structures, frequency of blood in circulation, bizarre and exhausting the night. We open our fears, drum our fists, stare holes into our eyes, phantom weapons, flower bullets, frequent pitch, maximum loudness, overkill structure, the sound of fury. At any point, along any line or curve, one has a choice. Incomplete explosion of limits explained. The empty space in the heart is reserved for Kansas. There is no empty space, as there is no silence. Kansas like nothing on earth. I do not fear for the future of music or mourn the sounds that die away. A hedgehog interrupts my being lost at the edge of the tape. March night crescendos into desert, oil on fire. Try to imagine a music free of imagination. Frequencies free of memory would open the total field of possibilities, all dawn above magnetic ground. Even before we add to imperfections in the paper, if we retraced our steps to where positions are not interchangeable, we would need to light a match. Happiest of composers, his waking expression, is it not a smile? The sleep of his reason gives birth to rhythms, a far cry from horses' hoofs, to mushrooms that outgrow both rain and explanation. Is he not a bit lost in his too large suit? He twitches his nostrils, stretches his eardrum. As for nature, he carries it from the edge of thought into his body. An error of localization, say his detractors, juggling extremes of joy and pain. See integration of opposites, compare Dionysus. Why will he not separate art from life? What is his purpose, his lack of, his thought, his art? Horrid heavenly interpenetrations, a piece of string, a sunset. The dangers of contemporary music. We might never know them. A sound as sound does not require we hear it without feeling, or camp near a cemetery. Pitch is not a matter of like and dislike. See how he picks shells on the beach, a curve away from ideas of order, day unending in the burning sun. At the corner of the square full of potholes, a sudden horse bucks the rider and the sound of words. Do you flatten yourself against the wall? Strings are instructive, voices too, and sitting still anywhere. On track, the unknown with such sharp clarity. To listen or not to listen? Do you try to grab the reins? As if by habit, the potholes fill with rain and bodies stand on their head. Indeterminacy. At each structural division, a toss of coins, a music of changes. A vertigo where your childhood could have dissolved had your mother not pulled you back to human savings. Error beside the point. Once it happens, it is. Structure unnecessary, though of interest. Even indeterminate, it remains present. Crabgrass, kudzu, transparent weddings. 2 inches of silence on track 1. Hold watch to mic, stretch membrane. The ear you won't lend will forego marvel for his master's voice. In its nest, bags are prepared for your body or others. A long safety without tightening in the chest or late clouds. Close attention to close attention. The worn-out sounds are not worn out. Beethoven as surprising as a cowbell if you listen with ignorance. The points of fusion are many. From one of them, you may invite clusters of jazz, wing beats, billboards, combustion engines, and wildflowers. The warm vigor of a horse. The air shivers timbers toward the tympanum, though without denouement. Yes, I'll enter your ear like any mother, no need to hold it open. Lolling tones gather no mushrooms, while even mossy patience gradually wears away. 4 leaves scars on the retina. Fear leaves scars on the retina. We're left among electrons, atonal, aching. Incumbent middle. Every day is a beautiful day. Every beautiful day is like every beautiful day. Sunrise, a child is born, a piece of music. Perspective becomes orderly, radiating from the needs of the child. This is a lecture on composition, structure, method, form. Why do we rush along the road like magnetic tape on fire? Form without spontaneity brings about the death of all pigeons and magpies in the sky. In the coexistence of dissimilars, pitch leans away from purpose, and urgency is implied. Inward to a point in dream, outward to the tips of fingers and toes. Let's retire to an open window instead of the woods, including tables and chairs. Is every tone virgin, if repeated? Masterpieces are the most frightening monsters, whereas night gets dark by itself. A pair of socks, a metal box. Does his head have a bed in it? How else this ease, this healthy lawlessness, these old sneakers? How to switch on the dark, how to stitch in time, how to empty the mind and tune the membranes. Is John Cage a subject or an idea? Out of step or on track? Does he lean on his elbows? The message is covered with mud at your service. We're now in the glory of not knowing what we're doing. So prolonged falling gathers fatigue even into winter. After the rain, more rain. I've never thought my guts would shake with echoes while I declare my love. Vexations. Men are men and moss is moss, but percussion is hitting tin pans, rice bowls, iron pipes, hitting, rubbing, smashing, and breathes accordingly. Without a bit of confusion, unimpeded, even jazz cannot get hot nor feet off the ground. A sound has no legs to stand on, but timbres fly with the blackbirds and slavery is abolished. There is no doubt which way is up. The Geneva Convention is also abolished. We declare war, sound or silence. By evening, personality is a flimsy thing to build an art on, so it pleases the hip cats. This performance fits long-jointed toes on our thoughts to wear like a helmet. Incurable flourishes. While frequencies knit to the inner ear, nobody means to circulate his blood. A density of sound that comes to blows, to terms, to providence, to naught. The tuning of 12 TV sets, the transparently genetic code, the problems without solutions, the threadbare suit. Lectures on nothing and something. While music is contemporary, we have no time to separate it from life. This is why there are no masterpieces which would protect us. The tone clusters where the heart beats, the nerve of microtones sliding across the synapse. Hold watch to mic. This concert is not a compendium. And the last one of the sequence, more and more we are getting nowhere. Everywhere they have been discriminated against. Noises. American, trained to be sentimental, I champion the underdog, coming on loud, banging my fist. So to write it down is hard. The mind on it takes the ear off it. Think of Morton Feldman. Is his music heroic or erotic? An equal, not lesser flavor. Action within the gamut of love produces sensuous coughing and clicking of tongues. An atmosphere of devotion interrupted by trust in the dollar. Don't hold your horses. More and more we are getting nowhere, and that is a pleasure. That's, of course, a quote from Cage again. Yes. Okay. And now I would like to read some more recent sequences. The first one is called Otherwise Smooth, and is, well, actually mostly about the deaths of sisters and friends, but also about various other things. Well, it doesn't matter. It'll come through. So, Otherwise Smooth. How daily my life, how tiny the impurities around which words might accrue. Worlds, whorls, pearls. I once stood in a town where nothing was left unchanged but the clouds driven from the east. Now I learn from the sea. Always the same, always different, brackish body, uncertain. The unusual I hold at bay by taking pictures. To let it accrue in memory without having to experience it? Do we live that way, walking as if we could on thin air? But the sycamore stands in the yard all day and all night. And now, though still lifeless in appearance, quickens, roots gripping farther down. The world rolls away coldly, transposed into vibrations of money, and like the nerve cells, never comes to rest. No matter how carefully I line my words, breath, faith, myths, to trap the plumed bird. Tough luck. I look on as it recedes into associations. Experience, Erfahrung, contains travel in German. It happens on the road, and I had put my trust in science to construct one for me. It led to scenic overviews, then gave out before I could reach, let alone hold anything fast in my fist. I'm loath to admit this absence, for all the grist of images, is all I know. Are we never able to touch it, the immediate, between the ticks of the watch, the lighthouse flashes, one nerve impulse and the next? Not even the slightest scratch? A cosmic storm slips between my fingers without the least pressure exerted on the skin. Stream, thin, clean, wind. Only once it's past, I latch on. Old light of dead galaxies. Only once we've said I with all that follows, do we become aware of pure experience, mute like a newborn smile. But by then it's already over. We console ourselves with knowing the difference, which we call history. If we just sit on a chair, we make no mistakes, but starve for contrails, crows, outlines of buds and strange horizons. Bird flutter, gunshot echoes. But let's say we worry what is poetry and what is prose. Wonder, try to know something and incidentally ourselves. Then pain is inflicted, and so it has no form nor special center in the brain. It is there, a world closed in itself. Yet wants a voice, yet whips to the quick the try to stammer it into words. Assuming we were lucky enough to be spoken to before age 12, so that our potential was not jeopardized, and now we have language. I say I, and thereby appropriate the entire language, and trust I am through words gradually to become a person, an instance of discourse, plain as the sky is to a fisherman. Beginnings are hazy, below the belt, where a face is not yet possible, so already bespoke by gravity. But pronouns do not refer to anything in space and time except the utterance that contains them. Each time, like death, unique. Not like walking in light that lies like fine dust on the ground, but language handing me each time the gift of memory, of past, a soul. while the voice excites intimacies of organic existence, modulates the frequencies of pulses from nerve fibers. Code, clouded sentence, crowded square, emptied of bustle by a sudden rain. It is in grief, a sister's death, a friend's, that I admit, for this I have no name. The words are empty shirts and pants strung on a clothesline, without body, without air. Therefore I too can't breathe. Sore, sear. The self goes from the self. Pain felt as in a twilight state, first stutter of sleep, as on the outer limits of the soul. And even the pain I feel might not be mine. Here they are, sister, friend, dead and tired, from the effort without the help of language to stand up in my memory, which has lost its simple-mindedness, its clear-cut narration, suddenly old. After the first hour, the mourners fall silent, or speak at angles in a hush. You have an importance we did not grant you during your life. Now you obstruct the passage of time you're no longer in, and the clocks risk stopping. The rock has split, early, eerie. Lack of experience translates into shock. The clarity, the final simplicity of excessive complications. Preoccupied zone in the brain. My face, none of the different blacks of mourning, but white and red as always. You would prefer our mourning raw, but I need conventions to lean on. Pomp, on circumstance. Without you to say you to, without you saying you to me, words don't rise to the roof of the mouth. The rose is obsolete, the color of your eyes subtracted from the air, fabric undone. A twist of wind, waste, dust. The walls crumble to memory rubble. This hour, a month ago, a year, your head in the mirror, sun on a leaf, strident chemistry, dashes of cold rain, sentence crashing down. Wood smoke floating above it all, and a silence I can't bear because it is complete. Grave, tomb, menhir, dolmen, cromlech, cairn, pyramid, coffin, black box. The earth, our mother. Caught in a movement that doesn't seem to take place, with fields enough, no end to plain, and bursting with buds. Death gleans no electric charge, no meaning, only a window slammed shut. I keep circling, one excessive, emphatic quote. No space not crushing, no rain not maddening, no state not avastation. And yet, already so many pear trees blossom, unscroll patches of soft velvet. The hand touches and lingers. And the last, I'll actually have a gulp of water. The last sequence changes tone considerably and is an homage to Robert Creeley. So there is an epigraph by him, and the title is called in pieces. So the epigraph goes, words are pleasure, all words. Robert Creeley. Natural, so not real like thought or possibility. The pattern of my reading, beginning with there was, moves into the present. Like lifting a hand unsure whether to imitate duration or mimic passage. As long as form is never less than activity, it's not how the cookie crumbles, but simply that it falls apart. Happenstance, a hat, a window, whirling leaves, why not trust the rest will follow? In the dream, I could not see you because you thought you were hanging from a trapeze. Tone deep. No sound is less than a sound or more. But music keeps us from hearing each one by itself, says John Cage. It is a pity. No mother tongue unless a mother, or many books demanding we enter their superb monotony. What tongue would not allow us to say you in the deep sense, intimate? Years of melancholy, errors in pronunciation. Something in the middle slows down. So many times a day I do not speak any language. So slight a sound, it doesn't make you dream, only pause painting your lips. And nothing follows, not from steps gone past, message not understood. A fearful clarity dissolves whatever you thought you knew. House set back from the street, open windows let the clouds enter. The brain complicates matters. Tell me, tell me. Plugs and sockets. No recipe for poetry or sex, just water. In panic, you invent the crawl and hope for 9 lives. Wives? What if your rhythm doesn't match any language, runs down before reaching the knot in the wave? The hand is quicker than the eye, but space twists. The sun sets in the middle of a word, then we don't know what's up or down. Encounter. What could I think to say in local gestures? Slow into form and cannot catch the next. A zoo in the middle of a sentence? Sponge, antenna, wall, bomb? This time of life to learn to talk to you, to sit down a square character, to believe with words? Widening rings in the water, or else clouds in the sky. Sunset theory. To feel an idea is difficult and rare. A private fluency of figment and frontier, a splinter in the sky. Let's not get sentimentic. The word reality is a word. Atoms are unpredictable, a warp in a continuous field, a gamble against the powers of disorder. But grammar can unpack a sentence it has taken you so long to understate. What open window? What thin but penetrating light? Broom or heather? Don't overestimate muscles, or get on Hegel's high horse either. There is no end to the potential for disorder, but that's no reason to idealize definition. What is a bedpost? The bedpost, says Creeley, is an extraordinary shape between you and me, and when even the laws of physics are only probable, could going west prove you are young? And are you? Manifest desire is uneasiness. This delay, it bothers you. Screen plus concept is madness. Waiting for virtual black and white, systems of winter, knives dropping. You think I am beside myself. And after a time, you are searching for oral forms in a culture of writing. Remember, Homer had no general terms for mind or body. The face at face value, leaf blown by the wind, changing color against the evening sky. Perseverance. Not going anywhere. The overlapping of successive perceptions in the cortex, texture of same and long, or a kind of seeing wide enough to include being, power, knowledge, will. Hips at a tilt, a face hidden behind its choices, a finger pointing, a package to be untied. In the dream, the racing hooves raised clouds of dust, flew over obstacles so fast I almost could believe in love. Undivided attenuation. Everything inside everything. A sparrow, a scarecrow, a snowman. In the mind, in time, in providence, in search of. There are no more secrets, but I too have my center of gravity, and the void that I encounter may feel like something's passage through local air, wintry, clear. Simple nature. Can it be found? Not here. No small local containments, galactic spin, wormholes and bridges, clouded cosmic cream. Large fields of indistinguishable details, peculiar motions in the brain. Don't ignore the whirling leaves. Where did I put my keys? Dark matter passes through us, swallowing what little light. Amazed, we are still talking, still learning to, and we thought it was later. Any single thing is so complicated we can only give it a little shove with the knee. The cry of the gulls, the line between water and grammar, horizon and interpretation, between two blues, field of error. My gestures not my own, desire not a color, and the sound of the sea. Listen. Preconceptions without delay. Because light finds a place to fall, if intermittent, I can live in a small word and lose my head for another. Despite the slowness of my work, I've not explained, at best described in more elaborate terms. Opaque, the space of hesitation, ricochet of recto verso. But the kiss is admirable. Simple syntax, easy tail, mouth undone at the lips. The problem with pronouns. All the bodies, one by one, the measure, says Robert Creeley. Composite, containing simples as surely as words are pleasure. The door, the white door, all the doors, To the small range of wavelengths called the visible world, we have attached names, so I could speak to you. Now something in the middle has come apart. The word I sits on my shoulders, ready for carnage. Thank you.
Thank you once more to Rosmarie Waldrop. Please join us in the dining room for a reception.